go. Okay. So, got the Facebook Live started in the class. Starting now. And let me just do this. Yeah. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the Ilahiyat today. And then before we move on to the next section, I'll give the we talk about the jazz, the mustahil, talk about that. I think that's a little important there. Give me 1 second before I get started. Boom, found it. Okay, so mute all participants. And alright, so Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. رضي الله تعالى عنه وسادة التابعين وعلماء آملين وآئمة أربع المجتهدين ومقالديهم إلى يوم الدين وبعد. So we're picking up where we last left off at for Umdat'l Bayaan, which is kind of somewhat of a review, and then we're going to move to the next section. So he started off, I'll call him Mu'alif rahimahullah. Well, what I'll do is I'll read the Arabic up until the point, just for a review, up until the point where we stopped at. So he started off, call him Mu'alif rahimahullah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslima, ameen. قال عبد الفقير مضطر لرحمة ربه أثمان بن محمد ابن عثمان المعرفة ابن فديء تقدم الله برحمته أمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وتم التسليم على محمد سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، فهذا كتاب عمدة بيان في علوم التي واجبات على عيان، وأقسامها ثلاثة: علم التوحيد وعلم الفقه وعلم التصوف. القسم أولا علم التوحيد، ويجب على كل مكلف أن يتعلم منه مقدار ما يصحح باعتقاده، ويجب على كل مكلف أن يعلم أن الله موجود ودليل وجوده المخلوقات، وأنه تعالى قديم، ودليل قدامه لزوم دورة وتسلسل في تقدير حدوثه، وهما محالا وأنه تعالى باق، ودليل بقائه ثبوت قدامه، وأنه تعالى مخالف للحوادث، ودليل مخالفاته لها قدراته على إيجادها، وأنه تعالى غني عن المحال والمخاصص، ودليل غنائه عن المحال استحالة اتصاف الصفات بمعنى ومعنوية، ودليل غنائه عن المخاصص وثبوت قدامه، وأنه تعالى واحد، ودليل وحدانية انتظام أمر المخلوقات، وأنه تعالى قدير، ودليل قدراته إيجاد مخلوقات، وأنه تعالى مريد، ودليل إراداته اختلاف أنواع المخلوقات. So that's the part that we went up to. And so today's section, we'll finish up the ilahiyat, with the rest of the 13 attributes. So, starting off, inshallah. But when I start reading the translation, just for because last week's record, I don't know what happened to last week's recording the class. I went to adjust it and I erased it, and it just disappeared on everybody. So what I'm gonna do is I'll reread the translation with real brief commentary and then go over today's section, because this class ain't really gonna be long. We're gonna be like running out of this section over the next couple weeks. The next couple more classes, probably about 3-4 more classes, will be done. But anyway, okay, let me start with the reading. So he started off from Wahid. Allah Ta'ala is Wahid. As I mentioned last week, it's not a numerical sense. Also the other attribute that people use is Fard, right? Unique. Uniqueness is unique. And so then he mentioned about the proof of Allah Ta'ala's oneness is the order and the harmony and the systematic arrangement of created things, right? And we talked a little bit about that last week. You never miss a sequence. There's never been a daytime, there's never been a daytime at night, right? Even when, think about it, because then we just recently have a lunar eclipse. Even in the eclipse, it's still following a systematic order. It passes through and keeps on going. Right, so everything there's nothing, there's no mixture, no combination, a mixture, no change. And this is why with the events of the one of the signs of the Qiyamah, the Day of Judgment, is that the sun will rise from the west. Right, is a sign because things are set in sequence, and so this being a sign is one of the signs of the hour. Is because Allah Ta'ala is in control of that. And when the sun is rising from the west, is also showing that Allah Ta'ala is in control. But the heedless won't take heed to it. All right? They'll probably have some kind of scientific understanding, because the way that people are drawn to some people are saying like, the earth is shifting because it's going to be this way or that way in this amount of years. Yeah, I read that article some time ago. But it shifts. I mean, what this does, it would draw the attention of the believer, and he see it, he'll know that's a sign. But one of the signs of the end of time, one of the things that take place, and this should be a future class, like shout out to the country. This should be a future class that I'll have where the Shaykh, he talks about in Tanbih Ummah, about the signs of the hour. That there's not going to be any believers left when that sun is rising from the west, right? Just before that event takes place, just before that event takes place, the people, the Quran will be removed from earth, right? What is pages will be blank. And whether you got it on your tablet, it's going to be blank. There's going to be no more. And the people will say, is what the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith. They said, I don't know, but I know we used to say La ilaha illallah, right? Then there's going to be a wind that comes from the direction of Yemen, and it's going to start to take the soul. The believers will die, right? They'll be removed off the earth. The disbelievers will be left behind and be straight chaos, anarchy, and that sun will rise from the west. Once that sun is risen from the west, there's no more tawbah. You can't make tawbah no more. There's no more, you know what, let me ask Allah to forgive me, right? And this is like part of the purpose of today's khutbah, that maw'idah, to give you that reminder, right? You don't know when is when, right? But we definitely know, if you look at all of the minor signs of the hour, all of them have passed already. The tallest buildings in the world is over in the deserts in Dubai, right? In Riyadh right now, they're working on building a building that's taller than them. And the only thing it can make you do is say, La ilaha illallah. It's the truthfulness of the Prophet ﷺ. We had the opportunity of believing in the Prophet ﷺ and hearing without even meeting him, right? There's people that met the Prophet ﷺ and had the opportunity. It's the Sahabas that followed him. But here we are believing and accepting and embracing everything the Messenger of Allah ﷺ came with. He's telling you 1,400 years later, you see it with your own two eyes. The Sahabas didn't see the tall buildings in the desert. And they're competing. They're literally competing. They're competing like they got two Legos, some Legos. They put Legos together to stack it up. Who could build the tallest Lego building? That's how they're building buildings now. So all of these minor signs. These signs are transpired. Have especially the minor signs. The increase of fornication and adultery, right? And almost everywhere that thing is just increasing more and more and more and more, right? All of these little minor signs of the hour.
All of them we living in now. Like he prophesies the cell phone,
microphone.
He prophesied
to the pockets of talk.
Yeah, the pockets of talk. He said that the feet would you not see the hour the hour will not come to you because the feet talk, and they got a thing that you connect to your feet when you do your running. That.
Right. Oh man, you see the new Nikes?
Yeah.
The new Nikes, they nice look. They some nice looking shoes, but them joints tie themselves up, and you use your cell phone to tie your shoes. You don't even tie your shoes no more. Yeah. So, but we're looking at it, right? And so, what this does for the believer, it should make his heart and turn more to the remembrance of Allah. This is why we're told about the signs, right? When the Hadith of Jibril, it summed up the entire deen. What is it? He asked the Prophet sallallahu what are the alamat as-sa'a? What are the signs of the hour? Right? And first he asked, when was the hour?
Right.
Right? And then he said, well, what are the signs? And that's just a small portion. All of the other narrations that are telling you about the hour. So, realistically speaking, if we slow down, and really did tafakkur, reflection, we really don't have time to play around with people. It's like it's coming. It's coming. You even see the reality, right? Most people look at it as it's just the feminist movement or things of that nature. But the Prophet ﷺ said, I think it's in Sahih Muslim, that the time will come where you will literally have to tie your women down in order for them not to follow the Dajjal. Not to follow the Dajjal. The more time increases, the more our women are losing their femininity and they're becoming our competitors. That's also a minor sign of the hour. That the men and women will compete for livelihood. Right. In your own household. Right? And your rank is diminished by your wife if you don't make more than her. It's just your honor is out the window. Yeah. Right? So these things are happening in real life time. We're seeing it. And the more time goes on, it's like, man, we ain't got time to keep playing. Time is moving. So, but anyway, Allah Ta'ala's wahid, right? So the next thing you mentioned is that Allah Ta'ala's qadir. He's omnipotent, all powerful. And the proof of his omnipotence is his power to bring into existence created things. There hasn't been no one. Right? Even think about it when Ibrahim alayhi salam was debating with Nimrud. What did he say? Make the sun, go ahead, make the sun rise from the west. Go ahead, my Lord makes it rise from the east. You make it rise from the west. Right? Everything he said, he had a rebuttal. He had a rebuttal for it. Okay, my Lord gives life and gives death. Bring this man here for me. Kill him. Right? He's like, I give death too. Free him. I just gave him life. Right? But he couldn't do any of these things, which goes back to wahdaniyah, right? When we talk about how everything runs in a systematic orbit, there's nothing in creation that can change that, right? So therefore, now here's omnipotence, Allah Ta'ala's qadir, right? Other than the overwhelming times that Allah says it in the Quran, and Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir, right? In the Quran, but just this here and reflect that what? Who can bring anything out of pure non-existence? Think about it. If we didn't exist, that means something you despise. People fear roaches and bed bugs, and termites and things like this. They would have more significance than you of being a thing that's non-existent. Then the fact that you're here, think about it. Even with we don't look at it from an anatomy and physiology or biology aspect, but think about it. A man, when he's having relations with his wife, that he's ejaculated, we will once a thing that might be considered haram in some case, or makruh, we consider najis, right? And some madhabs is considered tahor, or that is pure sperm. Right? You get sperm on your pants. I ain't gonna pray behind you got sperm on your pants, but you know what I mean. But you have to remove it in order to pray.
Right.
You have to remove that. So think about this. This was a thing where you came from, and they say all these millions of little sperms floating through, and you made it through, and you're here right now.
No.
And then Allah made you a Muslim,
No.
right? Sometimes we often forget the blessings that Allah Ta'ala gives us. So anyway, so proof of His omnipotence is His power to bring things into existence. The next is Allah Ta'ala's murid. He has determination or will, and the proof that the proof of His will is the different varieties and diversities in created things. So really, realistically speaking, a racist is a mushrik, because Allah Ta'ala made things in His diversity.
Right.
Right? When you're placing superior thought as if you had something to do it. And this is where tasawwuf plays in part as well, because ujub, the shaykh who starts the section on tasawwuf with ujub, with conceit. And that's the beginning of your affair of arrogance. You fall in love with how you look, and you're conceited about a thing that you ain't have no control over. Allah blessed you with that particular thing. No. Yeah, I look good, you know. Look at this, man. I got this beard, you know. And this is the beginning of our affair. Oh, my mother's rich. You ain't had nothing to do with your mother being rich.
Right.
You see? But these are the things that Allah Ta'ala, Allah Ta'ala blesses with those things, and we remove away, the one who gives us the blessing and only see ourselves. Right. This is why, if you look at the tartib, the order of the Hadith of Jibril, Iman, Islam, and Ihsan, or Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. If you look at it, Ihsan is last. Why? Because Ihsan is the beautification, it's beautifying. You're doing tahliya and takhliya. Tahliya, you emptying things out. Takhliya, you're remaking it over. Right? You're remaking it over. And so then what's happening now? Beautification. But you can't beautify the heart if you have other than Allah Ta'ala in that heart, because that is where the true understanding of Tawheed rests. Right? You can't. It's just beautiful. All you're doing is, it's like a cup. Right? You have this cup. You can't see through the cup. And inside the cup, what you don't know is there's like, cigar guts in there, ashes, pork skin, blood, everything else. And so you take, and what you do, you don't wash the cup out. You take the cup, and this is what Islam is for most people. Right. They're taking this cup, they're putting it under the tap, whether it's a soda tap, water, whatever it is, put it under the tap, and they're filling up the cup and they're drinking. Right? They're not purifying themselves. Right? So then therefore what happens? Islam doesn't do anything for them. You just pouring it on top of all of the najis that's in there. And so then what do you have? You have that tainted drink. Right? And so this is the problem of today. Once you understand what is the true concept of Tawheed, I think me and you were speaking about it yesterday. One of the biggest problems, and that's contributing to the war, the Tawheed, the Aqidah wars, is that people are taking books like Tahawi and other books of that nature, because it's called Tawheed, they're giving it more importance than the Quran. The Quran is the book of Tawheed in itself. Right. And no one no longer refers back to it. They'd be like, according to Sheikh such and such and such and such. And there's nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there's something wrong with these books, but that becomes the end game. That becomes the focus. And in there, what's mixed in there is some issues on Ilmul Kalam. And it's funny because we're going to talk about this Sunday after Fajr in the second chapter. The Sheikh goes into that about, Ilmul Kalam and Usuluddin and how people mix it. It's going to be real. And yeah. Sheikh was thorough. He made sure that there was no fitna in the Jama'ah. No fitna. When I tell you he laid it down, he give you the differences of opinion and everything, like, yo, this is our position, but understand that these people may do this.
What was his position on
Ilmul Kalam? That basically it was from the sciences of the deen, but it's not necessary to push it on all of the common people. You know what I mean? And that's what's happening today. Everyone is concerned about arguing about istiwa. Everyone's arguing about the arsh. Everyone's arguing about these things. What's mandatory on you is like Imam Malik said. Imanahu wajib. The belief in it is wajib. Right? All of that be like kafir and all that stuff. We don't get into all that, right? To even question about it, ask about it is innovation. We went past that. Now we're innovating. We keep asking, and we want need the details, and some people are teaching people their belief, and they're putting it to the point that you have to know these little minute details, right, in order to have sound belief. And this isn't necessarily true, right? The Shaykh, he goes into it. He talks about it in the other book. When you get a chance, me and you go through that, so I can give you, teach you that and give you jazz in that. Usuluddin. He talks about it at the end of that. At the end of Usuluddin, about it's not incumbent upon the common people to delve into Ilmul Kalam. All that's the Aqidah Wasatiyah, Kitabul Tawheed, all that stuff it delves into Kalam. You know what I'm saying? So you need Kalam, don't get me wrong, but it's not for everybody. It's for those, group of people that can handle that and deal with that issue. You understand what I'm saying? There's a war going on right now, but every United States citizen isn't overseas fighting.
Yeah.
You see, you get where I'm coming from?
Right.
So, there's a time and place for everything, but the overall concept is, you ask all patriotic Americans, we're all about freedom and justice for everyone. But meanwhile, they're over there fighting for all that, and there's some more details about it that's left out.
Right.
So I'll move to the next part. So he mentions about Allah Ta'ala being Murid, and the proof of that is the different varieties and diversities in created things. And and Allah Ta'ala, he mentions this in the Quran in Surah Al-Hujurat, that Allah Ta'ala created people in different, differences in tribes, so you can do what? La'allakum, y'all can a'allakum, right? So y'all can know each other. You can get familiar, you can ta'allakum, right? So you can know each other, So but anyway, so moving on to the next section, we'll and I'll finish out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 attributes. All right. So he says, the Shaykh says, وَأَنَّهُ تَعَالَى عَالِمٌ وَدَلِيلُ عِلْمِهِ إِتْقَانُ أشياء وأنه تعالى حي ودليل حياته استحالة كون الميت فاعل right فاعلا وأنه تعالى سميع بصير ومتكلم والدليل قطعي في هذا الكتاب والسنة وإجماع right هذا الذي ذكر في أوصافه تعالى إلى هنا هو كله مما يجب على الحق حقه تعالى إذا علم ما يجب في الحق حقه علم ما يستحل هو ضد ذلك واجب. Right. So anyway, so the Shaykh, he goes on, he says that Allah Ta'ala is alim, that he's all knowing, right? And these attributes, Allah Ta'ala already possessed these attributes. He didn't acquire these attributes, for lack of better words, right? He Allah Ta'ala didn't become al-Khalaq, the creator, at the beginning of creating the creation. Allah Ta'ala was always, right? So he says al-alim, he's all knowing, and the proof of his knowledge is the perfection and preciseness in all things, right? And also when you're talking about alim knowledge, don't look at it from a perspective of like knowledge was acquired. Allah Ta'ala taught Adam the names of things, not Adam teaching Allah Ta'ala. There was no university or anything like that, Right. So anyway, so the Shaykh, he says Allah Ta'ala is Hayy, right? He's living. And the proof of his life is the impossibility of the dead being able to do or perform anything. Allah Ta'ala is Sami'un Basirun wa Mutakallim, right? He's hearing, seeing, attributed with hearing, seeing, and Mutakallim, speak. And the irrefutable proofs is Dalil Qat'i, right? It's overwhelming proofs. For these is evidence within the book, the Sunnah wa Ijma', right? So he didn't give a whole lot of elaboration on it. Now the other class that we're doing, like I said, is a little more in depth, a little higher. that one gives a lot of reliance on proofs, a lot of discussion on proofs and evidences. So, Sunday, that's every Sunday after Fajr, inshallah. So he says here is the discussion of the attributes and all which is unnecessary with respect to him, Allah Ta'ala. He said that things that are necessary with respect to him are known. Ma yajibu fil haqqi, right? He said that this is considered impossible with respect to Allah Ta'ala as known. Ma yastahilu fil haqqi. Now, a lot of people have Christian-like kind of understanding when it comes to this particular discussion.
Right.
When you're talking about istahilun, something that's impossible. What is impossible? As the Sheikh, he says, he explains it. And then I'll elaborate a little bit. He said those things that are impossible with regards to Allah Ta'ala are diddu. That's the word in Arabic. Diddu. Dad, del, diddu. Right? They're the opposite of what is known by necessity. Diddu. What is known by necessity, what is known out of obligation. We're obligated to know that Allah Ta'ala exists, right?
No.
We're obligated to know that Allah is before time. We're obligated to know that Allah Ta'ala is ongoing after time, meaning there's no ending to Allah.
No.
We're obligated to know that Allah is not like his creation.
Right.
What's the opposite? The opposite is non-existence. We don't attribute non-existence to Allah Ta'ala. That is the belief of the atheists. We don't attribute beginning to Allah Ta'ala. That is the belief of the mushrikeen, those who commit shirk. You see, we don't believe that there's an ending to Allah Ta'ala. That's also the belief of the mushrikeen, the disbelievers. Because look at the belief of disbelievers. They build statues in order to worship their gods.
Right.
Right? And this is why Ibrahim alayhi salam taught them a lesson, right? By destroying all of the idols in the temple, and he left the big one there. And what they say? Well, who did this? He's like, haven't you asked the big one? Right? Which also, I love the story of Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Mu'adh ibn Jabal, there was a man, I can't remember his name. He ended up becoming Muslim. But he was a mushrik at the time. And Mu'adh was a young boy when he became Muslim. He was from Medina. A lot of people think he's from Yemen. He's actually from Medina. He was dispatched to Yemen to be the Amir of the people in Yemen and be their teacher.
So he stayed there and taught. He was the
he lived.
So he wasn't I set up shop.
No.
I'm giving dawah when I'm coming back.
He was sent to Yemen by the Prophet ﷺ to go teach, and he would come back and learn from the Prophet ﷺ and go back. Think about it. Mu'adh didn't spend a lot of time with the Prophet ﷺ,
right?
But he was named the most knowledgeable of the halal and haram.
No.
Right? Which goes back to what my sheikh he used to emphasize on. He was like, your teacher instructs you, but your taqwa, your muru'ah and your ma'ruf, the goodness with you and your taqwa, Allah Ta'ala gives you hidayah and fahim and understanding. He puts that in the heart, because just like the Shaykh he mentions in Umdat'l Bayaan, he said it's like watering a bad seed. What is it going to produce? Bad fruit. Right. So sometimes knowledge does that to people. It makes them actually worse than what they actually are. And that was the first class of Mirat al-Tulay. I know I keep talking about it, but that was in the first class.
Right.
It makes it worse. The more you put, more knowledge the person acquires, the worse the person get, if the seed is already tainted. So, but anyway, Ahlul Dhikr. There's another book in Siraji Ikhwan, the Shaykh who talks about who is Ahlul Dhikr. He said they're the people of taqwa, right? And sound knowledge. Versus ulama usul, they're the opposite. They're people of ignorance, and they're the people of taqwa. Even if they quote knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody who can quote from the Muqtasar Khalil isn't always righteous. You know what I mean? Because even General Lugard had a copy of the Muqtasar Khalil. He ordered it to be translated in English, right? And I forgot the other colonel. He had ordered it translated in French. So every person that possessed knowledge, Shaitan possessed knowledge, right? Think about it. He's the alim of all of the evil scholars. He is the sheikh of all the evil sheikhs.
First George Bush was a scholar.
So I mean, these are what these are the things that you're looking at. Knowledge in itself, if the knowledge is not acted upon, then as the sheikh says, he says don't take knowledge from that person.
Right.
And he also says that one of the things that's missing in this time He said you can acquire knowledge from anywhere, but the specific knowledge that you want is the knowledge of the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said that is a rare knowledge that many people overlook. You know. So, but anyway, so the opposite is impossible with regards to Allah Ta'ala, right? I seen two Muslims argue, and it like made my soul cringe. I ended up, interjecting the argument. But he said, well, how you going to say that Allah can't make a rock, that he can't live? I said, first of all, wait, stop.
That's a Catholic analogy.
Right, but this is what I'm saying. They used it, but some Muslims have that. Yeah, I understand, because we're embracing Islam, and a lot of us bring that baggage with us. You see what I'm saying? We bring that kind of thing with us. I understand exactly, and then also you got our philosophy is tainted with superheroes. We watching movies of guys who got superhuman strength and things like this, which ain't impossible. But look at this. You see what I'm saying? And then you're talking about, firstly, what's wrong with this entire discussion? Create a rock that he can't live. You're already giving human qualities. You're giving limitations, right? You're talking about Allah Ta'ala. You have to have some tanzih for Allah. There's certain ways you talk about Allah you're not supposed to, discuss about Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So his imagination, his theory is limited to creation. Just as Dhunnun al-Misri mentioned. Whatever you think, it comes in your mind, know that Allah Ta'ala is not that. Right? Everything you think of, because every time you think it, we talked about it in class before, Bruce Almighty, right? That was one way I couldn't get through it. I just stopped. I just didn't even watch the the fact that Morgan Freeman was, yes, my son, it is me. I was like, all right, I'm done, man. I just straight kufr. I can't justify watching this joint. Cut it off. Never watched it. You know what I'm saying? I tried, because I like Jim Carrey as an actor. But when it got to that, I said, nah, I can't do this thing.
You couldn't watch Oh God, You Devil.
I was going to talk about George Burns.
Oh God,
Wallahi, I was just about to talk. Now, I'm going to tell you how I watched that. I was a child. I watched that with my mother. I was a child. My grandmother, she was like, that's straight blasphemy. I was like, whoa, Granny's like serious about that joint. Because that was the same thing. That's where, and that's the other thing of disbelievers, which you're finding the Muslims are even getting closer towards that. The non-Muslims make a lot of mockery of their prophets and messengers. You know what I mean? They even make jokes about their God. I'm not even going to say Allah. Their God. Because it'll be like something like, what was it? That was in Oh God, You Devil, right? Where the dude cursed. He was like, God, why you doing that? And the lightning hit him. Things of that nature, you have those. It was another movie too. But anyway, so those things, the opposite, which is considered impossible with respect to Allah Ta'ala. He said the impossibilities are the opposite and what are known by necessity with respect to Allah Ta'ala. So then in closing of this section, he says, the Sheikh, he says, وَإِذَا Hold on one second. He says, no. He said, وَيَجِيبُ عَلَى كُلِّ مُكَلِّفٍ عَيْدًا أَنْ يَعْلَمَ أَنَّهُ تَعَالَى لا يجب عليه فعل وكل شيء ولا تركه بل فعل وترك جائزان في حقه ودليل على ذلك واستحيل انقلاب ممكن واجبا أو مستحيلا. And so the Sheikh, he says in closing of this section, he says, it is obligatory upon every responsible person to know that it is not incumbent upon Allah Ta'ala to complete a thing or leave it incomplete. All right? Whatever it is done. Now, this takes away the ammunition from those disbelievers to be like, why would God do this to me? I was born with 4 fingers.
Right.
Why couldn't I be complete? No, you're perfected. Akmal is done.
Right.
Khalas. Right? That's why even like some Arab poets, they used to, I forgot the line. We learned it in one of our old classes so many years ago. But anyway, it talked about with regards to beauty and someone that a person considers someone ugly, and the ugly person's like, I'm not ugly, I'm beautiful. You know what I mean? So, I possess beauty. right? Allah Ta'ala created me this way. Even if you look at the story of Julaybi, right? Julaybi's story, man, that's an emotional story. But this wasn't the chosen guy that everybody would want. But the message of Allah Sallallahu instructed the family to marry their daughter to him. And so much barakah came from it. All the women wanted Julaybi after that. Because Julaybi was real short like a dwarf. But anyway, so he says it's incumbent upon every responsible person to know that it is not incumbent upon Allah Ta'ala to complete a thing or leave it incomplete. And contrarily, completing or leaving something incomplete is two permitted actions with respect to Allah Ta'ala. Wa fi'luhu wa tarkuhu jaizan. Right? This is jaiz. These are beginning statements that you will read when you study in Far'ain in a lot of the books of like Ibn Ashur is one of them. They use the words yajibu or wajib with regards to Allah, necessary, it's understood as mustahilan, impossible, right? Those things that are impossible, which are the opposite, adiddu, right? The opposite of these attributes. Some say it's 13, some attribute 20. And then you have those the last one, you have jaiz, right? You have those things that are jaiz, like permissible or possible. And this is what we're talking about. A thing being complete or incomplete. It's absolutely jaiz. It's with regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says the proof that Allah Ta'ala can leave an action complete or incomplete is the impossibility of what is possible, mumkin, becoming wajib or mustahilan. So the fact that he can leave it complete or incomplete, right? If you're saying he has to complete it, that means that you made it wajib upon him. And if he fails to complete it, then you made that mustahil, impossible. Right. It was impossible for Allah Ta'ala to complete this action. So this is what it understands. This is tawheed with regards to Allah Ta'ala, right? Everything that's here, you're not going to argue with your brother in Islam. We all supposed to share the same belief. You argue with disbelievers. You can tear apart their belief all day about this. And when I'm saying arguing, meaning that you win them over to come to the truth, or it becomes clear that they are for a clear kufr. When you have these particular things, this is all that is necessary for people to know in order to have sound belief, right? If you go further in your studies and you study Jawhara Tawheed or Sugra, Wusta or Kubra or Imam Sanusi and other books of bigger books of Aqidah, and you get into Fakhruddin Ar-Razi and big scholars of the Mutakallimin, then you go into that. Then you get into that whole thing. So this is outside of this. This is Usuluddin. This is how our Sheikh taught us. Which I'll say this. I am not giving validity to them because they have no true way to attribute to Imam Athari, right? Now, I'm not slighting them. I'm not throwing shade at them. If you were to go just by this, just Usuluddin, and leave Ashriism, Maturidism, for Ilmul Kalam, you'll minimize a lot of fighting. You wouldn't hear nobody saying anything. One of the things where I was just reading a discussion this morning in one of the WhatsApp groups, and they were having that discussion. And it was like, well, was Ibn Abi Zayd Ashri, right? And so then they started, talking and then I'm starting to realize the more time goes on, people are making claims and they're putting people in categories. Now, and this is also in the same book. We're going to have this same discussion in the same book, Miratul Tulab. You have the Salaf and the Khalaf. Now, what the Salafiyas did was they made the Salaf themselves, and they made the Khalaf not as a group of scholars, but they made it people who have contrary beliefs to us. Okay? That's not what the Salaf and the Khalaf is. The Salaf is the earlier scholars and the early on, because the dynamics shifted as time came about and deviant groups emerged as time went on. The thing about Medina was set. This is the city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Deviancy never came from Medina. This is the Malikiya's claim to fame. Right. Why? Because we didn't even elaborate on it. Think about it. The man, when during the time of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, where he was the Khalifa. During the time of Abu Bakr, he used to run around and ask people all kinds of crazy questions about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ayahs in the Quran, right? Mm-hmm. Abu Bakr died. One of the men in Medina went to go complain to Umar. Umar handled things a little bit different. I said, send this man to me. Man came to him. He said, yeah, He said, well, tell him to me. He said, the man began to narrate to him. He said, Umar body slammed him, rolled him up in a rug, and beat him, right? And kept beating him and hitting him, right? And he stopped. He said, does this answer your question? He said, nah, my man, mu'mineen. He said, and every time you ask one of them kind of questions, I'm going to give you the same hukum every time. He said, okay. When Umar died, he went back to asking those questions again. Medina was a totally different place than you had in Iraq. Right. Iraq was crazy. And Ali strategically moved the Khilafah to Iraq in order to protect Medina. So you'll find, a lot of people attribute to the Maliki ulama, right, to the Malikiya scholars, that they were athari because they didn't get into all this. That just wasn't from our persona. You see what I'm saying? That wasn't our way. So okay, yeah. So that wasn't our way. And this is, and in us as a Jamaat, our reflection, and if you was to trace back what Sahaba Imam Malik's character was a replica of, it'd have been Umar ibn Khattab. So if we want to give esteem and raise esteem to the deen, we have to put things back in its proper place. We can't be out here arguing with dudes all crazy. We got to annihilate their deviant theory and keep it moving, because Islam is something that's to be taught and spread, not to be stagnant and debated. You see? So it's different. It's different, when you're dealing with it. We're dealing with us in Philly. If you split up the city, every area is different. Anything outside of where we at Southwest, that joint is Baghdad to me. That joint is Kufa. You know what I'm saying? When you hear this is Medina, this is our safe haven. Right. You see what I'm saying? Everybody's supposed to be on the same thing and the same way. When you go outside there, that's when you got to deal with all that debate, that philosophy. Their madhab is different. It's different from our practice, right? We talk about amal. They like the hadith. We like, the amal was this. Khalas. The Messenger of Allah did this. That was it, right? They go through, we got the 10,000 longest chain from here to Baghdad and back to Philly. And you're like, okay, how many about, man? Right? Because our concern is not so much ijazah, right? Because ijazah, you get ijazah, you'll learn that as time. Ijazah is nothing, really, honestly. All it is just showing that you completed a particular study of the subject. But that fahm, that understanding, think about it. How all of the attributes that Ibn Taymiyyah had, of good attributes, but he had crazy aqeedah. That's what, when the scholars say, he said, man, he's one of the brightest minds, but he had a screw loose. It's like, this man lost his mind. So you can have all of these beautiful attributes. I finished this book. I read this book with this sheikh over here, and I read this book with that sheikh over there. But Allah doesn't give you that fahm. Then you start spreading deviant aqeedah. So I'll stop there, inshallah. Plus it's time for Asr anyway, inshallah. So, I think next week I'll review, and then we'll move right into the Nabawiyya, inshallah. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.